Hello and welcome to our final day of the Fatherhood Summit. We've had so much fun talking about some great subjects. We've talked about faith, we've talked about marriage, we've talked about work-life balance and leadership, and we've talked about personality styles. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about this idea of business and money, finances, all of the fun stuff that people love to talk about. And today, my first guest was originally scheduled to be my last, but you know what? Things happen, and that's half the fun of life, right? If you can't mold, if you can't change things up, then well, what's the fun in that? So, Ricky, man, thank you so much for being on. Thank you for the work and stuff like that you've done behind the scenes to help me out with this summit.
You're very welcome, Matt. Hey, it's been a pleasure and honor to work with you. And I've seen the summit, quite a few of the sessions, and you've done a phenomenal job curating, some of the world's most experts in the area of fatherhood and marriage and family and business. So I just wanted to give you a huge round of applause and a big high five and a fist bump. Good job, my friend.
Thank you. It is much appreciated. Let's go ahead. We'll jump right in. So, for starters, for people who don't know you, and I know that's a little bit of a smaller list, let's talk a little bit about your kind of your family structure. You're a world traveler, and when I say world, I'm not talking about the United States. I'm talking about the world. So let's talk a little bit. Talk a little bit about your family, and not only that, but how many countries have you been to now? Where are you guys at? Where are you guys headed?
Yeah, sounds good, Matt. I'm from Vancouver, BC, Canada, so not too far from you. I was born there, raised there, went to university there. Then I met my lovely wife, Anne, there. We had 3 wonderful kids there. So same as you, 3 kids. I got a daughter who's 6. I got a son who's 5, and I got a little guy who's 2. And about actually just over 2 years ago now, we decided to leave Vancouver. Safety and security, the life of suburbia, the life of being a domesticated dad, and instead we decided to be a digital nomad traveling family. So why? The big question is why? Well, we wanted to live a life of freedom. We wanted to show our kids this amazing world. We wanted to educate our kids, not through a classroom or textbooks, but through actually experiencing this wonderful world that we are living. So we left Vancouver on December 6th, 2016, and here we are 2 years later, still traveling. I've been to 81 countries now on 6 continents, and we're currently here in the beautiful Philippines in Manila. And we're looking into doing Africa next. That's the game plan, to explore the African continent. So yeah, it's been an amazing ride, especially showing our kids amazing wonders. Like we took them on an animal safari. They got to see animals not in a zoo, but in the wild. We took them to Iguazu Falls, the biggest waterfalls in the world. Took them climbing through Machu Picchu, the Inca Lost ruins. We've been to Dubai, the tallest building in the world. We've been to Christ the Redeemer, the big Jesus statue in Rio de Janeiro. We've been to the Amazon River. I can go on, but there's been so many highlights, Matt.
Wow, that is awesome. And to top that all off, you're an entrepreneur. So you are the CEO, founder of daddyblogger.com. You have a business all ran through the eyes of a dad and through this idea of fatherhood. And so, Ricky, you're a busy man. You world school your kids. You're very passionate about your wife, very passionate about your kids. I've had a chance to see you interacting with your kids and celebrating your daughter just wrote and published a new book. So you're helping her with that. And you've got your hands in so many different things. So how do you balance your business and fatherhood and traveling and world schooling your kids? How do you balance all of that?
Very good question. And honestly, it's a struggle. I don't want to lie to anyone here. I want to say it's a struggle to find and optimize and keep work-life balance. I would say some keys for me have been being purposeful and prioritization. So purpose and prioritization. So when you know your purpose, like for me, my purpose is to build strong fathers, marriages, families through the power of travel and through internet marketing and finding the freedom through the digital nomad lifestyle. It sets you free. It sets you free from the restrictions of having to do what everyone else is doing, right? I think the reason a lot of us struggle is because we want to keep up with the Joneses, right? Or the Smiths, or whoever you want to name your family of choice, right? We want to keep up. oh, that family, they have that size house. That family, they drive that kind of car. That family, they go to Montessori school. Oh, we need to do that as well, right? So once we realized that suburbia was killing us and materialism was destroying us and burning us, we let go of that. And now we're free. Once you get to this level of freedom where you can actually choose your priorities. So first you find your purpose and then build on your prioritization. So like the Maslow hierarchy of needs, you have like the prioritization hierarchy. And for everyone is different. For me and for you, Matt, it's built on a strong, solid faith, foundation of faith, because without faith, we wouldn't exist, honestly, because, I'm a Christian, so I believe that God is the foundation for everything, everyone, everything. So that's the foundation of my life, God, Jesus. And then on top of that, we put family, which includes myself, marriage, and then kids, right? I need to put myself first in terms of I need to be taking care of myself, healthy, going to the gym, working out, nurturing my own needs and wants, not to the point of like being narcissistic or me-focused, self-centered, but just in terms of self-care. And then, of course, my wife is second because, we need to have a strong, healthy marriage for our kids to see what a strong relationship's all about. So then after God and then, myself, my wife, and then we have the kids, of course, and prioritizing the kids, but not just, we need to spend time as a family, but I need to individually spend time with my daughter, my middle son, and then my smallest son. So like you said, I'm publishing our first book, where my daughter's the author, Shetty, she's the author of the book. And then I spend quality time with my son doing more sports type, because my daughter likes reading, she likes podcasts, she likes videos, she's more like socialite. My son likes sports, and then my little guy, he just likes playing around and, just like doing puzzles and games and stuff like that. So I need to prioritize individual time with each of them. So those are my tips for work-life balance. First, find your purpose, and then find your priorities, and then make sure you stay on purpose and stay on priorities.
Oh, I absolutely love that. And so you mentioned the three ways that you're able to balance life. Of course, you put your faith in God, your faith in Jesus, your purpose, you put that first. And so you take time to personally develop yourself. And then I love what you said about putting your wife second. I think so many times it's so easy to put your wife above yourself and put your kids above your wife. And I think that creates that conflict, that controversy, that struggle internally. And so let's talk about those three different areas for a little bit. So what are some of the best ways, you mentioned working out and mentioned podcasts, but what are some of the best ways that you have developed yourself personally? What are some steps? What are some different things that you're reading, what you're watching, what you're listening to that you do to develop yourself personally?
Yeah, so I think first it starts with your calendar. So one of the most powerful tools for self-management or self-control or self-discipline in terms of prioritization and time management is your calendar, right? So for me, I have an iPhone, so I have my iCalendar on there, synchronized with my laptop, etc., and my wife's calendar as well. So I'll put all the important appointments in terms of business appointments, podcasts, coaching calls, online courses, like speaking engagements, those kind of things. So business appointments. But also I put in date night with my wife. Actually it says date night with Anne, and I put that on Fridays. So that's non-negotiable. I'll put that in there. And if I need to change it, I'll communicate with her and say, hey, can we do it on a different night, right? So putting that date night in there, and then putting the Ricky time in there, like just the time where it's not the same every day. Sometimes it's just like walking by myself. Sometimes it's like I really like this concept of floating. Basically, you go in a tank and you have salt, and it actually helps you float. That's something I like to do for like the relaxation. I'm here in the Philippines, okay? It costs $5 for a massage, okay? $5 for a massage, for a 1 hour massage. So I do that about 2 times a month now. Actually, I've been doing it a couple times a month, and oh man, that's so therapeutic because you're just in the state of like Zen, relaxation, just like calmness, and you can clear your mind of like, I need to do this, I need to do this, this is up, right? So you need to kind of like stop the the mind monkey, they call it, right? Just like the constant mental chatter. So massages You know what? I actually do crazy things for like men don't do normally. It's like manicures and pedicures because again, it's cheaper. So I'll be doing those things as well. So I recommend men also need to do those kind of self-care routines or regimens, whatever works for you. Okay, you might not like doing manicures or pedicures. Hey, straight guys can do it too. Okay, you might like you might like just long drives. I used to like just doing that drives alone, listening to a podcast and just like being by myself. I think it's very important for us men to be alone to really develop the vision and the purpose and the direction we want to take our families in. And also we need to be in a relationship with friends, other men. Like it says, iron sharpens iron, right? So, you can call them brothers in Christ, or you can call them accountability partners, mastermind members, having a coach. I have multiple coaches, actually. This really helps. So like different areas of my life. So like a money coach, a health coach, business coach. We even had one for relationships. We were struggling in our marriage. So we just, again, I don't mind admitting publicly, we got coaching, counseling on that in terms of how to improve our marriage and deal with the communication barriers we're having and the fighting and not putting the marriage first, right? Just like we were like so busy with our own businesses and our own dreams that we forgot the reason we're together, right? And just doing coaching sessions with someone and having a third person like saying, I can tell you guys just love each other, but you're just like not seeing it, right? So just that reassurance and all that. So all those things I would say are key. Time with God, obviously, like, I don't feel it's like something you do in the morning and the night. It's something you can do constantly throughout the day, talking to God and spending time with Him, prayer, reading your Bible, hanging out with other people who have the same faith as you. So yeah, those are some of the things that I do to figure out this struggle called work-life balance.
Man, I completely understand. And Ricky, I appreciate you being willing to be vulnerable. I think as men, a lot of times we feel like we have to put up our guard and we don't want to admit that we're the ones who are having problems. We're the ones that are struggling. We're the ones that don't have everything completely together. And so I appreciate your vulnerability. And I think that's a good next place to kind of hit. So what is the most difficult part about having a successful marriage as a world traveler? I mean, you're traveling all the time. The two of us have talked several different times about the different things that you have on your plate and seeing the world and just doing all these different things. So what is the most difficult part about having a successful marriage?
I think communication is definitely challenging because I look at a marriage as like multifold. Okay. So firstly is the personality differences, just the fact that you're two personalities who are living together 24/7 and like spending your lifetime together. So two personalities collide because you have different interests and needs and wants and selfishness and weaknesses and challenges, right? So the personal differences. Then you have like the cultural differences, like, like for example, in my case, I'm Canadian, my wife's Filipino. So there's like a little bit of a cultural clash every now and then about our values around the way we've been raised. And then of course you have the gender differences. The fact that I'm male, she's female. Maybe I don't want to stereotype too much, but she's a little bit more emotional. I'm too heady, right? I need to get more into my heart, right? And listen better, right? So I think at the end of the day, I look at it, the marriage is like, I need to be 100% responsible for the success or failure of my marriage. So when I know it's going downhill and when we're fighting and I can easily say, oh, it's my wife and she's like this and this and this. But when I actually point the finger at myself saying, okay, man, I'm the one who needs to change. And what can I do to make this marriage better? And what am I doing wrong? So getting to that point of personal responsibility and admission that I am the one that can help my marriage succeed or fail, right? So it's not like 50-50%, or it's like not like it's like 80% her fault. I feel it's 100-100. I need to take 100% responsibility for the marriage, and so should my wife. And once we get to that place, that's when we have the strongest, healthiest marriage. And when I haven't done that, that's when I know the marriage hasn't been good. And when my wife hasn't taken the responsibility, hasn't been good. So just realizing that, communicating with each other, and I think the real key to any struggle in any relationship, in any area of our life, is talking, communicating, dialogue, and that can solve so many of the world's problems. But of course, the micro world, which is our family, can be solved by just simple things like we're doing now, Matt. Just talking, and listening, and acknowledging and focusing on growing individually and growing as a couple.
Yeah, definitely. You know, it's so easy to place the blame game and to say it's her fault. It's, you know, the reason why we're not succeeding is their fault, and point the fingers as you mentioned. But I love what you said a second ago about, you know, it's up to me to take responsibility. It takes two people to make a marriage work. It's not just all one person. It's not all one, you know, the other person. It's 100% from both parties. They're both 100% dedicated to this awesome idea of a flourished, successful marriage. I love what you had to say about that right there. So as we're going down your kind of your list of priorities here, the next thing you talked about was being completely there, being present with your children. And again, with somebody being so busy and having you know, a business going and coaching, you have a lot of different Udemy classes that are going on. You're you have a lot on your plate. So what is the most difficult part about being a successful dad as a world traveler?
I think the most difficult part is the fact that men, myself, you know, I can say men, but the struggle with me is that I'm task oriented. So I look at everything as task based. I'm like, okay, I need to do these tasks for my business to work well. It might be writing a blog post, doing a podcast, following with coaching clients or blog sponsorships, or recording the online course I was committed to, or getting more speaking engagements, etc. Right? So these tasks are kind of like, I need to do this, and then I will have finished my day, or my week would have been successful. But I do all these tasks, but then my daughter's like, Daddy, you know, can we play now? Can you read a book? And I'll be like, you know, like you kind of put your hand out, or you're like, wait, right? And you kind of like say, honey, the computer is more important and you're not important. And that's devastating to any kid, right? Or any person. Even if I said that to anyone, right? Like my wife or you, like I'm like, Matt, you know, hold on, right? So we should actually say that. We should say, Matt, hold on, I gotta talk to my daughter. But we do the flip. We put the person we're talking to as a higher priority than the very person that we're doing everything for, right? So, and I struggle with this again. I have to preach it myself before I tell others here on the summit, because I need to deal with that myself, like the technology addiction or the social media addiction. You know, oh, I got a message. Well, the message can wait, but my daughter can't, right? So I'm constantly working and being aware and attempting to make those changes, and holding myself accountable to make those changes, right? So key is this accountability, the self-accountability, and of course, accountability to others, right? Like Matt and me, we'll talk about everything. We'll say, hey, you know, I'm struggling with my marriage. I'm struggling with, you know, whatever you're struggling with. It could be pornography. It could be business. It could be health. You know, like a lot of men, we struggle with health. We're more like the Homer Simpson rather than like the working out and going to the gym, because we use the excuse, I'm too busy. Well, again, prioritize, right? Prioritize, put in your calendar, and then make it happen. So there you go.
Yeah, definitely. And again, I appreciate the vulnerability. You know, I told the story yesterday about a man who's busy and you know, constantly just, you know, he had everything going on, and he didn't feel like he had a lot of time for his family. And his daughter came up to him, Daddy, how much do you make? Sweetie, that's none of your business how much I make. You don't need to worry about that. Daddy, how much do you make? Fine, I make $30 an hour. Daddy, can I borrow $15? What? I just got done telling you that I work so hard for this family and making sure that you're provided for, your mother's provided for, and everything. Yeah, but I have something I really want. Fine, I'll give you the $15. And the dad at that point gives his daughter $15. And his daughter reaches in his pocket and takes out $15. 15 plus 15, of course, is 30. and she hands that $30 to her dad. And she asks if she can buy an hour of his time. As men, it's so easy for us to forget that the thing that our children, and I've said this several different times during the summit, but it's a great reminder that as men, it's so easy to forget that the thing that our children want isn't our paycheck. It's not how many people you can help. It's our time. They want us to get down on the floor and play with them. If you've got girls, get down on the floor and play Barbies. My wife asked me at one point after we had our second daughter, she said, Matt, are you planning on playing Barbies with my girls? And I said, yeah, duh. Like that's what being a dad is all about. A dad is about getting down on their level and enjoying and being intentional. That way you can implement that value into your sons and daughters. Any of us men who have children, if they understand their value, they can be the next president of the United States, sons or daughters. They can be the next president of any country. They could solve the world's economic crisis. They could solve all of these massive different world issues as long as they understand how important and how valuable they are. And that starts with us men. It's time for us to dad up. It's time for us to be the man and own up to that awesome responsibility that we have. To Ricky, thank you for sharing it again and for being so vulnerable. So one of the things that most people hate to talk about, and of course everyone has to work, right? Everyone has to make money to feed their family and different things. But most people have such a difficult time making and saving money when they work in one country, working one job in one place. You, however, have learned how to save money and give your children the experiences of a lifetime. You talked about going and seeing the safari and seeing animals in their natural habitat. You talked about going and seeing the world's largest waterfall. You've talked about going and seeing all these incredible things. And so with that comes the knowledge of how to save and make money, so that you can give your children those different experiences. And not only that, you do this in different countries, which means you're consistently changing currency. You're doing math. You're figuring out how much money you've got, not only in this one place, but also in another. So what are some of the best money advice you have? What are some tips and tricks that you know in order for the everyday man, so that we can become more successful with money and give our children some of those same experiences that you have? We may be having some technical difficulties.
Yeah, sorry, the internet's cutting out a little bit here, but hey, I'm in third world country.
So what are some of those different, the best money advice, tips and tricks that you have, that the everyday man can become more successful with money in their experiences? As we're getting those issues worked out, and Ricky is in a third world country, as he mentioned, he's in the Philippines. I think one of the most important things that we can remember as dads is how important our value comes and how our children get that value from us. That's one of the things. Ricky, it looks like you're back. Again, the third world country, helping out, man. I know you're hard at work. It's almost 1 o'clock, or it is 1 o'clock, a little after. To finish up, what are some of the best advice, tips, and tricks that you have that can help the everyday man be more successful with not only money, but giving their children these different awesome experiences that you've given to your children?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of my big passions, Matt. Thanks for asking. Sorry for the internet issues. So basically, I teach something about how to travel the world as a digital nomad. I've done a TEDx talk on it. I have coaching programs on it. I have a mastermind group. I have small group coaching around it. I have online courses around it. I have a podcast with 560 episodes, and I have a couple of virtual summits on this topic. Plus, here in the Philippines, I'm doing a big in-person conference called the Freedom Summit about being a digital nomad. So it's my big passion about fatherhood, and especially inspiring fathers to be digital nomad dads. So let's talk about that. How do you become a digital nomad dad? Well, I use the 3 steps, okay? First is you save, secondly is you sell, and thirdly is you serve. Save, sell, serve. So we talked about, money, you brought that up. So you got to start saving if you really want to travel the world, because a lot of people say, oh, I really want to travel the world. I wish I could do that, or I'll put it in my bucket list. But if you really want to travel in terms of what I talked about, the purpose and the prioritization, then you'll put that as a priority. You won't put the latest technology, the latest new car, or the getting a bigger house as a priority. So putting memories over materialism is key. Once again, I'll repeat, memories over materialism. And check yourself and ask yourself, are you doing that? And if you're not, why not? Because at the end of the day, what is our kids going to remember? The toys, the things, the house, or the memories, the experiences, the moments? Think back to your own childhood. What do you remember with your own parents? It's probably camping, road trips, travel, experiences. And that's exactly what we need to do as dads. Do that to our own kids, okay? So that's the saving and prioritizing. Saving can also mean cutting back on the Starbucks, Just 1 cup of coffee, $5 a day, times 365 is how much? Any good mathematicians are watching the summit? $5 a day times 365, $1,800. Sit with that. $1,800 in savings just on coffee alone. That's called the latte factor, okay? So imagine if you cut back on 2 coffees a day. It's $10 times 365. $3,650. Just do 2 cups of coffee at Starbucks per day. Crazy. But we don't think of that. We're like, I need the coffee. And you're like, I'm so tired, right? And you just drink the coffee. Boom, you're wasted your travel expenses, right? So be really intentional and proactive about saving, cutting back on those coffees, cutting back on those dinners out, cutting back on those movies, and prioritizing travel. So that's the saving element, okay? Saving before you travel. When you're traveling, you can save, like staying in things like a hostel. There's family-friendly hostels. You can save by taking local transport. You can save by eating local food and connecting with local people, doing homestays and Airbnbs as well, rather than staying in big luxury impersonal resorts or hotels. We do that every now and then, but usually only if we get sponsorships through my travel blog. So save, okay? Before you travel, when you travel. And then the selling part. So this is an individual choice whether you want to sell everything and travel the world. Some families do it. We've done that. We sold most of our stuff and we've been traveling continuously for 2 years. No regrets. The regret would have been if we didn't sell and we didn't travel and we wished we'd had, right? So we don't regret the things we've done. We regret the things we didn't do. So we've sold a lot of our stuff and now we're traveling, and it's been life-changing, life-altering. And that's why I'm so passionate about inspiring others to do it, just because the changes we've seen in ourselves, but most importantly in our 3 young kids. So sell whatever you don't need and use that money to fund your travels. And of course, sell online through things like what Matt and what I teach. So I teach multiple streams of income, okay? Both active and passive. Doing things like coaching, mastermind groups, doing things like online courses, doing things like books, doing things like travel blogs, doing things like social media marketing or management. If you are from a native English speaking country, you can teach English. You can teach English online. If you're into IT, programming, coding. So there's quite a few areas of internet marketing you can get into, like the whole marketing area, the education area, the technology area, and pick something and do it. And what's working, do more of it. And what's not working, stop it and do something else, okay? So that's the selling component. And then serving. We could make all the money in the world and travel to all the countries in the world, but if we don't serve others, it's all for nothing. So very important to volunteer as you travel. We stay with YWAM, Youth with a Mission, different orphanages as we travel. We stay with SOS Children's Village. They're an international orphanage organization. We stayed with them in South Africa. We stayed with them in Brazil, stayed with them in Colombia. So around the world, as we travel, we stay in orphanages, and our kids get to see exactly how an orphan lives without parents, and a really powerful story quickly is like we were in an orphanage in Colombia last year, and my kids actually end up giving away their toys to the orphans, and it always leaves me kind of choked up because it's like, man, back in Canada, my kids would never ever give their toys. They would be wanting more, and we're doing this summit around Christmas time, and most kids want more. We're teaching our kids to not want more, but to give more. So there've been so many life-altering internal lessons. We could talk for hours on this topic, Matt, but hopefully those steps will help your audience travel the world. Once again, start saving, start selling, and then start serving. And you also will be able to be a digital nomad dad, a D&D.
And I think the one of the things that you said, and I love this, and it's something that as men we struggle with, is that the most important step to take in this journey to start saving more, to start giving your kids more experience, is that first step. Perfect time to do it was yesterday. The next best time to do it is today. So take those first steps in order to start saving money, and not only saving money, but to give your children those experiences. I love what you also said about giving experiences and memories over material things. As men, of course, we want our kids to have everything. And I'm glad you guys can't see my house right now because my kids have way too many toys. So actually, one of the reasons why this Christmas we have asked for a lot more, experiences or educational opportunities. That way we can pour into our kids. We can help them to understand their value. And then they can understand that there are other people in other countries, and Ricky's seen this firsthand, that don't have anywhere close to what we have on our worst day. And so, Ricky, thank you so much for being on this Fatherhood Summit. I know it's getting late there in the Philippines where you're at. Tell us a little bit, before you go, a little bit about your business and what's the best way for people to get in contact with you.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I'm a giver. I like adding value and just helping people, and I'm definitely people helper, right? So if you resonated with anything I said about, like my passion for family and marriage and travel and exploring the world and teaching our kids through education, I really feel that travel is the best education. And we as dads need to be embodying that, right? Our kids are not going to do it on themselves. So we need to be the ones to do it on their behalf. And when they're older, they're like, oh, my dad's awesome. He actually showed me all these things, right? So that is the greatest reward for me. Not how much money I make or not how many countries we took off, but it's like the life change that has happened in my kids. And I feel as dads, this is kind of my closing thoughts, I really feel as dads, our role is not to be the financial provider. And we talked about this, time provision or financial provision. I really feel our role is to help form their identities. And we can either break their identities or we can create them and nurture them and flourish them to be children of God, to be little sons and little daughters of God, and to be world travelers, and even to be little internet marketers. My daughter, she's 6, and she's already making like 100 US on YouTube. And she's already going to be an Amazon bestselling author, and she also a podcast host with me. And she's just very much a part of our business. And my sons are a little bit younger, but they're going to be the same. This is part of their life, right? So it's not like, take your kids to school once a year. It's just like every day. They know exactly what we do, and they're part of it. So in closing, yeah, I really feel that our role as dads is to help form the identities. And if you resonate with anything I said, you can find me very easily. I'm found at daddyblogger.com, and that has links to everything I do: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course my podcast, my YouTube channel. And if you're interested in being a digital nomad, then you can check out digitalnomadmastery.com. And of course, I have a podcast as well. If you're into listening to podcasts, check it out. And I am also a summit producer like Matt. I've done a couple of summits on digital nomadism, and they're all available for free on digitalnomadmastery.com. So you can watch the recordings and learn from different digital nomads, not just myself, but other families. I've interviewed over 200 digital nomad families who have traveled around the world just like I'm doing. So if we can do it, I'm just an average, everyday, middle-class dad. I just want to assure you, you don't need to be rich. You don't need to get an inheritance. You don't need to win a lottery. You just need to prioritize travel. So there you go. Find me at daddyblogger.com. And Matt, once again, good job, my friend, and thank you, and God bless.
And thank you for jumping on here. You've offered so much value. And before I let you go, you had an offer for anybody who signs up for this summit. Going to the website, www.fatherhood.com/summit. So anyone who goes there and registers for this summit, and there's still time, you've got till the end of today to do that. Again, www.fatherhood.com/summit. If somebody signs up and throws himself on the list, registers for this summit, what is it that you're offering?
Yeah, I have a Udemy course. Actually, I don't just have one. I have 15 of them. I have different digital nomad courses, everything from personal branding to marketing yourself, including things like social media marketing. I have a course on YouTube marketing. I have a course on podcasting. I have a course on blogging. I have a course on getting into the media, becoming Amazon best-selling author, building your own coaching business, building your own speaking career, and then one on being a digital nomad, and then the last one's about getting travel sponsorship. So anyway, for Matt's audience here, I'm going to give my digital nomad course, and it's $197. But for you guys, it's 50% off. No, just kidding. It's actually free. I'm not selling anything. I just want to love on you guys. It's 100% free. No upsells or anything. It's just free. It's my gift to you guys for registering, and I believe in you to be strong fathers. So this gift's on me.
And that's awesome. And along with that, Ricky and I will both be giving one person a coaching session from each of us. So one lucky winner will put a name in a hat or something, and I'll have one of my girls draw it. But you will win a free coaching session from Ricky, and then someone else will also win a free coaching session from myself. Yeah, Ricky's got a ton of value. He's coached me along several different things. He's coached me with this summit, telling me how to do it, telling me not only how to do it, but how to stream it to Facebook and some different questions, some different thought processes to have. So, Ricky knows what he's talking about in this area. He's very good. He's also great when it comes to his family and his children. So definitely check out daddyblogger.com. And to close, if you want any more information about what Wrestling with Fatherhood is about, check out our website at www.fatherhood.com. Again, that's www.fatherhood.com. Also, make sure to check out our Wrestling with Fatherhood podcast. A lot of the summit guests that we've had have been on the podcast. Ricky has been on there, just offering a ton of value, and that's our entire purpose in this. So definitely check those out. Thank you for checking us out, and I hope you guys all have a great day.